Hey there, and welcome back to the Lifestyle School podcast, where we cut through the noise and teach you how to live a healthier, happier life. I'm your host, Hope Plack, and today we're diving into something that doesn't get enough attention, and that is magnesium. Now, before we get started, I just want to say I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is for informational purposes only. Always consult with your healthcare provider before starting any new supplements or changing your diet or lifestyle. Okay, with that, let's jump right in. So today we are talking about the mighty mineral magnesium. And this is an episode close to my heart because I am all about magnesium. And my question for you is, did you know that magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in your body? That's right. From the moment you wake up to the time you go to sleep, and even while you're sleeping, magnesium is quietly working behind the scenes to keep things running smoothly. Yet, despite its critical role, magnesium deficiency is surprisingly common, and the effects can show up in a huge variety of ways that you may not expect. So, today we're going to break down exactly what magnesium does, how to know if you're low in it, and how to optimize your intake to improve energy, stress levels, sleep, and maybe most importantly, because this is what we talk about a lot, is metabolic health. So stick around for this one. It is important. So magnesium is one of the most powerful and yet I think overlooked minerals in the body. It's like your body's multi-tool. I don't know about you, or maybe if you're a woman, your husband or your boyfriend, but my husband recently asked for a multi-tool, a Leatherman multi-tool for his, I think it was his fellowship graduation. And I didn't really know what a multi-tool was until I learned about them because I was buying one as a gift. And they're actually pretty cool. Like there are 20 different uses for this little tool that folds into like a nice little pocket knife type pouch. And you got a scissors on there, you have a knife, you have a serrated knife, you have like a screwdriver head, pretty much everything you could imagine. And so I want you to think that of magnesium as your body's multi-tool. It's involved in everything from energy production to heart health to mental clarity. But what really makes magnesium special is that it's not just doing one thing, it's woven into nearly every system of your body. So, for example, magnesium plays a huge role in producing ATP, the molecule that fuels our cells. It's like that gives us energy. And without enough magnesium, your energy levels can actually crash. So, no matter how much sleep you're getting or how healthy your diet is, if you don't have enough magnesium, your ATP production can pay the consequence for that. So, magnesium also acts like your body's internal calm button. I don't know about you, but sometimes I just need a calm button, right? My kids are asking me 10 million questions. My house is a mess. There's so much noise. Sometimes you just need an internal button to hit that's like, calm everything down, quiet everything, soothing piano music. That's what magnesium does internally for us. It's vital for relaxing our muscles, for calming our nervous system, and supporting your body's stress response. And if you've ever felt constantly anxious or had restless sleep, low magnesium could be playing a big role in that. And let's talk about blood sugar control because we're all about that here at Lifestyle School. Something that's especially important if you're working to improve your metabolic health, magnesium is critical for insulin function, helping your body move glucose into your cells efficiently. If you're low in magnesium, your body may struggle to manage blood sugar levels, which can lead to energy crashes, cravings, and even insulin resistance over time. So, from all of that, I hope you start to think of like, magnesium is maybe something I need to pay more attention to. Maybe those people are like, oh, I have some magnesium for my feet before bed, and I take magnesium because I'm working out a lot. Maybe there's something to it. And that's what we're going to dive into today. So, How would you know if you're deficient in magnesium? One thing I'll say is I think most people are deficient and they don't even know it. Because magnesium is involved in so many processes throughout the body. A deficiency can show up in a bunch of different ways, some of which that may be surprising to you. And here are some common signs or symptoms that you might be running low. So if you have a pen, maybe you want to write these down or just pay close attention to see if you check any of these boxes. So muscle cramps or spasms can be a sign of low magnesium, fatigue even after a full night's sleep, insomnia or restless sleep, anxiety, mood swings or irritability, frequent headaches or migraines, irregular heartbeat or palpitations, constipation, and finally, blood sugar issues. So, the tricky part of this is these symptoms can often be mistaken for other issues, which is why magnesium deficiency can go unnoticed for years. So, one way that you could get this tested, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, I used to work for a functional medicine doctor for 8 years. We did all sorts of blood testing, stool testing, saliva testing in clinic. And one of the tests that we did was a micronutrient panel. And that could let you know, if you are deficient in what micronutrients, specifically magnesium, you can look at. I don't know for certain if you can like specifically just have magnesium tested. But if you find that, maybe you have a couple of these symptoms or one or two, it might be worth looking into seeing if you're deficient. Or if you're like, I know myself, I'm likely deficient, why not just pocket that money for a test and start supplementing magnesium? Because um, it's really hard taking oral magnesium or even topical to overdo it. Typically, the only side effect is going to be diarrhea or a loose stool. And we'll get more into the different types of magnesiums and what they're good for. But it can be hard to know if you're deficient. And I would say it's a safe bet that if you are eating the standard American diet, or even if you've tried to be healthier over the last year or so, there's a good likelihood that you're probably deficient. So let's move into talking about magnesium's role in stress and sleep. When you're under pressure, whether it's from work, parenting, or even intense exercise, your body burns through magnesium at a much faster rate. And I think many people actually don't know this. And here's the catch. The more stressed you are, the more magnesium you lose. It's a vicious cycle that leaves us feeling wired, tense, and totally depleted because stress depletes magnesium. And one of the cool things that magnesium helps with is it calms the nervous system by supporting GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter that promotes relaxation, and it also regulates melatonin, your body's sleep hormone. I know melatonin gummies and supplementing melatonin are really big. The last couple of years, it's been something that people talk a lot more about, but magnesium actually supports GABA, the neurotransmitter, and then also helps regulate our body's natural melatonin production. So if you're tossing and turning at night or maybe waking up and feeling exhausted, the sleep is just not, feeling like it's doing what it should be, magnesium could be a missing link for you when it comes to this issue. And a great trick is trying something like magnesium glycinate about 30 to 60 minutes before bed. It's one of the most absorbable forms of magnesium, and it can help you wind down for a deeper, more restorative sleep. So if I'm doing an overnight fast, I always try to take magnesium an hour to 30 minutes before I go to bed, because as your body sometimes is getting used to switching over into ketosis, especially, sometimes you can feel, around that 24-hour mark in a fast, you start to produce ketones, and that makes you feel more alert and awake. And you're like, oh no, I need to go to sleep. What is happening? And so having something like magnesium just helps calm us. It helps regulate our melatonin, and it just makes going to bed so much easier. And transitioning now to looking at metabolic health, if you're looking to improve your metabolic health, which you probably are if you're listening to this podcast, because so much of our focus in Lifestyle School is all around metabolic health, magnesium is a total game changer. It's one in my course Lifestyle School. I do have a whole episode, or not episode. It's like a class essentially talking about supplements. And one of the supplements that I do recommend that I think everyone should be taking is magnesium because it is such a game changer. And studies show that magnesium supports insulin sensitivity, which is key for balancing blood sugar, and it helps improve our energy levels. And when you're fasting, magnesium is even more important. So, since your body flushes more minerals, including magnesium, when you're in a fasted state, because your insulin is coming down so we can burn body fat, supplementing with magnesium can reduce common fasting side effects like muscle cramps, fatigue, or things like brain fog. So for fasting support, I would recommend actually magnesium malate. It's particularly good for boosting energy without causing any sort of digestive upset or loose stools. And when it comes to our hormones, you might be surprised, but magnesium also plays a major role in regulating our hormones. I started this podcast by saying there was over 300 chemical reactions that magnesium is a part of. So maybe it's not surprising that it's plays a major role in our hormones, but it helps regulate and reduce PMS symptoms. It stabilizes our mood and it supports our adrenal glands. And those are tiny organs that help manage our stress response. So hopefully you're like getting this common undertone is especially if you have a lot of stress in your life, you need lots of magnesium. And for those who are postpartum moms, especially, magnesium is essential. The demands of pregnancy, birth, and nursing can leave our magnesium stores very depleted. And replenishing those levels can help improve your energy, which we need every drop of energy we can get in that postpartum period. It can help our mood and just general overall well being. I know for me, after giving birth and when nursing, typically my shoulders and my back are always constantly so sore from breastfeeding and, constantly holding this little baby. You hold all that tension in your shoulders, and magnesium can be super helpful for that. So, I want to talk a little bit about choosing the right magnesium for your goals, because this is really actually pretty interesting. Not all magnesium supplements are the same. Each type has its own unique benefit, and there's actually quite a few different forms of magnesium. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but I've had clients ask me, there's, glycinate, malate, citrate, oxide. What do I choose when picking out a magnesium form? And before I get into the different types of magnesium, I just want to put like an asterisk on supplements. And I'm really passionate about supplements. It's like a huge tool we have used in our toolbox when I was working within the functional medicine field to help people kind of right the ship for their physiology. And you can think about supplements as like raw materials for your body to put to work. To rebuild and restore things that are out of balance. Like, obviously, you always have to start with food. You need to start with lifestyle, but sadly, our food is just not as potent as it once was with nutrients due to our depleted topsoil, which we talked a little about in our episode on wheat. But supplements aren't regulated by the FDA, and I think that's really important to note. And there's been a number of different stings over the years where regulators have gone into CVS, Walmart, health food stores that you're familiar with, and taken supplements off the shelves and tested them for what they say is on the label. And many times they have found that there's ingredients that aren't listed on the label or, not in the right potency. It's like a whole black hole if you go down that rabbit hole. So one thing that I always want to make sure that and I want you to be informed on this, if you're going to buy supplements, you need to buy it from a trusted source. I would never buy supplements on Amazon. You need to buy it from a trusted source whose supplements are third-party tested for safety, for purity, for potency, for bioavailability, and whatnot. And I'll usually say this, magnesium generally is very affordable, but you get what you pay for when it comes to supplements because where you're sourcing the materials from is really important to like the absorbability, the potency of it, and then how it's formulated is also really important for the bioavailability of those supplements getting where they need to go in your body. So it's a complicated topic. I go into it in depth in lifestyle school, my course. And I'm sure I'll do an episode on it eventually, but you got to be careful when it comes to buying supplements. And I don't want you buying garbage off the internet. Long story short, always try to start with food and lifestyle. But I do think there are times when supplementation is needed, and I just want to make sure you're getting it from a good, high quality, safe source. So I'll leave it at that. So, talking about the different sources of magnesium, we have magnesium glycinate, and this is the best for stress relief, anxiety, and sleep. And then we have magnesium malate, and this one is great for boosting energy and for reducing muscle fatigue. So if you're, really hardcore into exercising, this is one that could be really helpful. Magnesium citrate is ideal for dealing with constipation. So, if you want to try to avoid things like Miralax and other stool softeners, magnesium citrate is where it's at. Magnesium threonate is fantastic for cognitive function and brain health. Magnesium chloride, often used topically to soothe sore muscles and reduce tension. I don't know if you have followed me on Instagram, but not long ago, I did this leg workout that just like destroyed my inner thighs and my glutes. And then I was trying to do my like morning half-mile run and I could barely move. I thought I was going to pull a muscle. So I was doing a lot of magnesium chloride on my muscles to try to get things to calm down. And it actually really helps. And then magnesium oxide is actually not very absorbable and it primarily will act as a laxative. And I will say it's probably one of the cheapest forms of magnesium. So the key is choosing the right type for what you need. So for example, if you're working on improving your sleep, magnesium glycinate is probably going to be the best bet. And if you're focusing on energy, malate is maybe going to be the better choice. So now I want to give you a pro tip. Magnesium works best when it's paired with vitamin D. In fact, magnesium is needed to activate vitamin D in your body. So if you're low in magnesium, your vitamin D supplement may not be working as well as you think. Most people are deficient in vitamin D if they aren't supplementing. And, it comes back to this vicious cycle of being deficient in a lot of, essential vitamins and minerals in our body just due to poor diet and high stress and unfortunate lifestyle choices. So, if you do supplement vitamin D, which I'm honestly going to say, I think most people should also be supplementing vitamin D. We did a lot of vitamin D testing at our clinic as well. And I've never seen one person who wasn't supplementing come back, at like adequate amounts. And to be clear, vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So you don't want to take too much, but ideally you would see your levels between 70 and 80. Over 100 is considered toxic. And, if you just are having it checked by your medical doctor, though, they're not going to flag it unless it's below 30. But that's not ideal optimized for health. So, if you do take vitamin D, magnesium is only going to help with the absorption and activation of vitamin D. Which is great. But on the flip side of that, too much calcium can actually reduce magnesium absorption. So if you're taking a high dose calcium supplement, which is actually at this point, based on what I've seen in the research, not recommended, consider scaling back and or balancing it with magnesium. So how to get more magnesium? Ideally, start with your food first. You can't supplement your way out of a bad diet. So things like I've mentioned before, avocados, super important, leafy greens like spinach and Swiss chard, nuts and seeds, especially pumpkin seeds and almonds, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, and then yes, ladies, dark chocolate, 70% or higher. You know me, I'm going to say 85% or higher, but those are going to be good sources of magnesium. But since our soil is increasingly depleted, many people are still going to need to supplement to get their needs. So with that, hold on one second here. You know what, guys? This is just the reality of being a working mom. I had to pause my recording there because my daughter needed to know if we could go to the park later. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I really do appreciate your time. But so just to kind of rewind, because our soil is increasingly depleted of magnesium, many people are still going to need to supplement to meet their needs. And, thankfully, magnesium supplements are not outrageously expensive. So, final thoughts for you guys as we wrap up here. Magnesium is one of those rare supplements that can improve almost every area of your life, your energy, stress, sleep, digestion, and metabolic health. So, whether you're managing a busy household, balancing work demands, or pursuing your wellness goals, magnesium can help you show up as your best self in every area. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe fatigued, or restless at night, magnesium might be your body's missing puzzle piece and could make a huge difference in your quality of life. So I hope this episode gave you some valuable insights into the power of magnesium. Maybe you had never really thought about magnesium before. Who knows? But if you found this helpful, I'd love for you to share it with a friend, especially someone who's been feeling maybe burnt out or overwhelmed. And as always, if you have any questions, leave a comment below, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at or Facebook at Hope Platt Coaching. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. That helps more people find us. And lastly, I just want to say thank you for tuning into Lifestyle School. I so appreciate your time and your being here. I'll catch up with you next time with more tips and strategies to help you build a lifestyle that works for you. Stay well, and remember, small changes add up to really big results. So with that, you guys, we'll see you next time.